Minulla on erittäin suuri ilo ja kunnia kutsua lavalle Yhdysvaltain entinen Suomen suurlähettiläs, nykyään Aallossa yrittäjyydessä luennoitseva, erittäin karismaattinen, todella hyvän näköinen Bruce Oreck. Hyvät naiset ja herrat!
You have to ask yourself a question, why do you applaud before you hear what I have to say? Makes me doubt the whole Finnish education system. Why are you here today? I'm going to assume that you are here today because you don't want to fit in. You just don't want to be normal. You don't want to just take a job doing somebody else's vision of your life. That you're here because whether you're in the business school or some other school, you have a hunger. You have a hunger to design your own life, to live your own life, to push the envelope around the world and do things, make the world form more to you than the other way around. And therefore, the starting premise is that you don't want to act the same old way. You want to do something different. And in fact, just as a small aside, we know the world is full of problems. And acting the same way is not going to solve them. Acting the same way, you'll get the same results. That's not going to help. But if you want to change how you act, you want to change how you are in the world, that means you need to change how you think. And about now you're beginning to think, there must be something better I can do with the next hour than listen to this guy talk about how you think. Maybe. I don't know who this guy is, but he's got the best hair in the whole world. I mean, don't you think there's a fundamental unfairness here? They make this guy probably the smartest human being in history, and they give him that great hair. There is no cosmic justice. So Einstein, as you know, was a physicist. And you're thinking now, why are we talking about him? Because Einstein, of course, came up with this. E equals mc squared. The general theory of relativity. E, energy, equals m, mass, times c, the speed of light, squared. What the hell does that have to do with what I'm talking about? Not a damn thing, but he has got such good hair. No. It actually, what you didn't realize about Einstein was he wasn't really a great physicist. And this isn't actually merely the general theory of relativity. This is also the fundamental theory of entrepreneurship. Now we have to substitute out what we're solving for, right? Energy, mass, speed of light. Let's use E equals mc squared as a mnemonic, a memory tool. Because here's what you're really solving for. Experience. The thing today that people are after is experience. When I was growing up, you had apples in the fall because that's when apples were in season. And you had berries in the summer because that's when they were in season. The idea that you would have fresh raspberries in January in Helsinki in the dead of winter simply would have been impossible, let alone in New York City where I grew up. Those times have changed. Today, things are no longer rare and precious. right? If you went to the store and you saw 20 pairs of shoes, you went, my God, I've never seen so many shoes in my life. And you picked one of them, and whether it was the right color or not, you paid a lot of money for it. But today, you go online and then push up a button, you can have any pair of shoes in the world delivered to your home in a day or two. Or berries, or whatever it is. Things are no longer rare and precious. Doesn't mean you don't want them, but they're not rare and precious. What is rare and precious are experiences. I was in Munich not long ago, walking down the main shopping street, filled with these beautiful buildings from the 1600s and the 1700s, clearly Germany. And on one side of the street was H&M, and then there was Zara, and then there was the North Face, and then there was Starbucks. I could have been in Cleveland, Ohio. There was nothing rare or precious or unusual. It looked the same. This homogeneous thing we have with stuff. And what people want, and I don't care whether you're in business, science, the arts, they want genuine experiences. That's what you're solving for. That's how humanity is being moved today. So the formula here is experience equals C is the customer. Let's stick with the customer for a minute. Europeans don't do customer very well. We joke in Helsinki that if you go out to a restaurant and the waiter is not mad at you, you're having a great customer experience. I was talking to my driver this morning, and he was telling me about a friend of his who's a taxi driver, who has a Mercedes station wagon that's under warranty, but because he washes the car so much, some moisture was gathering in the LED headlights, and he took it into the Mercedes dealer. I'm sure I'm biting the hand that feeds me here because I'm driving around in a lock-in car, and they said, oh yeah, it's under warranty, but we want 5,000 euros because we think you're washing the car too much. That's why there's water in the headlight. You know, in the United States, the customer would basically, take the car and drive it through the window of the place and say, now give me my money back, and he'd get it. Customers are not treated well here, but that's part of the whole experience piece. If you want to succeed in whatever you're doing, understand that your real shareholder, your real product, everything centers around the customer. And whatever you think you're doing, however well you think you are dealing with your customer or servicing or designing a product for them, remember that there's somebody out there who is centuries ahead of you, moving faster on customer experience. And that's why the square, it's not a target, it's not a place to arrive, it's an objective. It's a goal that's always moving out ahead of you. Experience, customer square. So what is the piece? What is this? And right about here is where the people in the business school slap their foreheads and wish they could fire me. Because here's the piece. Are you ready? Magic. You laugh, and you're wrong. And I'm going to prove it to you. The reason they hate this in business school is because you can't metric it and you can't measure it. You know, in the business school, you can study innovation management, you can study all sorts of good things, but you can't study magic. Let me put it in bigger letters, because you need to get this. You know him? Walt Disney. Walt Disney took the cheap carnival ride that you see at every sideshow, and he took the cartoon, which was a filler around movies, and he created something extraordinary. You wish you had 1/100th of 1% of the share of the revenues that come from the movie Frozen. Just that one movie, right? Your great-grandchildren would have more money than they know what to do with. And he took the, right? And you know what they call that? It's called the Magic Kingdom. He didn't pick that word by accident. He was not a stupid guy. There are 350,000 active words in the English vocabulary. He picked the word magic. And what do they render? Has anybody here been to Disney World or one of the versions of that, right? It's an extraordinary what? Experience. It's not about the ride, it's about the overall experience. Every detail, down to the design of the trash cans. It's the Magic Kingdom. Or how about this guy? Possibly you've seen him before, or heard him. He created the most valuable company on the planet, and he basically reinvented the world with the smartphone and the App Store and all of that other stuff, right? Have you ever watched, and if you haven't, I recommend you do, go back and watch one of his product introductions. He comes out on stage wearing black, you know. And what is the word he uses more than any other word? Over and over and over again. He takes out the product and says, it's magic, it's magical, it's magic, it's magical, this is magical, this is a magical thing. He's not stupid. He knows there's more than one word. He uses it because of the power of it. It's the thing that we all crave. Have you ever seen a magician? Somebody who saw someone in half? You know that's probably not true. But you can't take your eyes off it. You want to be fooled. You want to be tricked. You want to believe in something. Something beyond the normal. People who can bottle magic, who figure that out, deliver an extraordinary experience. It's very hard to copy and replicate. And it's all designed around the consumer, around the customer, because that's who the magic is for. If you can do that, then that E equals MC squared is your formula for success. It's easy to remember. Or how about this, right? Industrial, light, and magic. Anybody here seen Star Wars? Okay, let me ask you the real question. Anybody here not seen a Star Wars something or another? Anybody? The hell have you been living? What the hell is wrong with you? And you, right? What's over here? You guys should like go on a date to a movie. You know? You can have kids if you can deny them that too. Right? You go and you know it's all fantasy. You know it's bullshit. There aren't Star Sabers and Darth Vader and, you know, and Jar Jar Binks and all the other cast of ridiculous characters. It's all fantasy. But you don't want to see the green screens and the wires and the computer stuff. You want to be fooled. You want to be transported. You want to be sucked in to the magic. Industrial light and magic. Get that? Get the formula. Okay, now I'm going to bring you back to where your educational roots are. You're thinking in terms of innovation. How many times a day, a week, a month do you hear the word innovation? Oh, this is a powerful innovation. We teach innovation. We have an innovation center. You know, we're going to restart our economy with a lot of innovation. It's a hell of a long distance between innovation and magic, right? Different thing altogether. And I'm going to suggest to you that although innovation isn't a bad thing, it's also not the thing that you're after. See, innovation is change in a stable system. Going from iPhone 7 to iPhone 8, right, is an innovation. But the system is stable. It's a whole different thing. It's not like going from the dial telephone to the smartphone. So innovations aren't bad things, but they're just versions of already what is. They're simply iterations, improvement. It's a little faster, it's a little slicker, it's got a new shape, whatever. And they're not bad things, but they are not the kind of thing that move the needle. Steve Jobs did not innovate the telephone. He did something altogether different. Magic is not about innovation. And innovation isn't magic. So what is it? It's about creativity. Now, I want to be a little clearer here, but it's easy to remember creativity. There are actually two different aspects here. There's imagination and there's creativity. Imagination is your brain completely at play, and creativity is, if you will, your brain at play with a purpose. And because you all have goals here, whether they're business goals, social goals, environmental goals, you have a purpose. And so I'm going to stick to the concept of creativity today as opposed to raw imagination. So what you're really trying to do is to be a creative, not an innovator. It's going to bring you closer to the magic. But being creative means you have to understand and overcome evolutionary biology. You know, I can actually drive in a straight line, I just can't think in one. So we started out with magic, and now I'm talking about biology. Okay, stay with me. I promise I'll bring you back around. Because, and remember, our goal here is to become our creative selves. To figure out how to bottle that magic. You probably think you're in charge here. Oh, I am creative, or I'm this, not so much. Your biology, your evolutionary biology drives what you think, it drives how you act, and it drives what you perceive. You see, you're actually not in charge. You are not driving the bus. You're being driven by the bus. And the people who learn how to drive instead of to be driven are the ones who are the creators. Right now, you're sitting comfortably in your chair, half asleep, thinking, no, he's wrong. I'm the creative type. Well, I'm about to disabuse you of that mistaken belief about yourself. Okay. First of all, your map of reality is determined by your brain structure. It's not about what is. It's about what you perceive. You don't see what is, you see what you are. Reality is not a constant, it's not a thing. It's a perception of a thing. And your brain, and I'll prove this to you shortly, maps out what you see, not what is. And chemistry drives what you do. You are not free agents. You are, in fact, closer to machines. Which of these two images scare you? This one? Oops, let's go back. Come on. All right, that one, the wolf spider, or the taxi cab. Now, I assure you that if I were to reach into my briefcase and take out a spider and drop it in your lap, even though you're a big tough guy, right? The whole place would empty out, and you'd be screaming along with them, right? And you'd all be gone. Every one of them. Even in the back door, you'd be out of here like. Last year, somewhere maybe around 30, 40, 50 people around the globe reported to have died from spider bites. Last year in the United States alone, 34,000 people were killed by cars. Just in the USA. And yet I've never seen anybody go outside and go, holy cow, it's a taxi cab, holy, and back it up, right? No, you're not afraid of cars, but you're terrified of spiders. Why is that? Doesn't make sense. Right? Any ocean swimmers out there, divers? This is true. Last year, more people died in accidents caused by them using a selfie stick than died from shark bites. I can see it now, Steven Spielberg's next great film. You should be scared of selfie sticks, but you're not. Instead, you've got this, there's something down there going to hit me in the water going on. So what the hell's going on? What's going on is your biology. The base of your brain, the amygdala, two little almond-shaped pieces of the brain which make you afraid. It's why you're afraid of the dark. It's why you worry about, is there something in the closet? Is there something under the bed? Is my wife going to catch me drinking? Whatever it is. That's not a good one. The point is, these fears and having those fears were critical for our evolutionary survival. If every time your interaction with a spider that was poisonous, we were much smaller creatures, no medicine. If every time a human being interacted with a spider and got bitten and died or got really sick, if there was no biological memory passed down in our DNA, right, we most likely would have gone extinct. And therefore, the early brain, this reptilian part of the brain, basically you embed these fears. And you cannot surgically remove them. Reducing risks increased your chance of survival as a species. That makes sense, right? And that's why you have that, even though it's now completely out of control. This same survival, right, required the ability to identify patterns. This spider bit me, spiders are dangerous, that looks like a spider, therefore I shouldn't touch it, right? We had to identify patterns. How many of you all can see the snake? Isn't that interesting? This is a real snake. It is called the copperhead. It is a poisonous snake, and it lives only in the eastern seaboard of the United States in the deciduous forest, the trees that drop their leaves. And you can see it's designed to hide the leaves. And therefore, in reality, you have never seen this snake. But yet, you all could see the snake. Why? Because even in Finland, where there are very few snakes, we all have a shared biological history. Our evolutionary past is the same. Snakes were dangerous, and therefore the machine says, pattern snake, snake, be careful. Let me say this again. You are a pattern-making machine. You are not really creatures of free will, nor mine. You're pattern-making machines. And while that was a good thing in the past, today it fools us. It leads us astray. Don't believe me? Take a look. Do you see the blue and green spiral? Come on, I'm not asking much. Just pay attention, open your eyes. Do you see the spiral, right? The spiral of blue, the spiral of green, right? Okay, your brain made that up. Because it's not there. Your brain, so desperate to find a pattern, just made that up. Because that blue and that green are exactly the same color. They are exactly the same color. Don't believe me? They are exactly the same color. Still don't believe me? They are exactly the same color. Your brain made that stuff up. Why? Because you are a pattern-making machine. Still don't believe me? Okay, I'm going to have to play hardball with you guys. It'll make you see what's not there. Your brain was about to make you see something that is not there. Okay, ready to play? Do you see the white triangle? How many people see the white triangle? Come on. Okay, can we all admit that there is in fact no white triangle on the screen? Right? It's not there. You just made it up. It's not there. Your brain made you see something that was not there. Why? Not because you have some fetish about triangles. Ooh, it's a triangle. Ooh. No, it's because your brain is a pattern-making machine. It wants the pattern, and if it's not there, it will create it. You just made that stuff up. How about this one? See the white square? Do you see it? Yes. I dare you not to see it. There is in fact nothing but 4 Pac-Men on the screen. And yet, you cannot unsee the square. You cannot do it. It's there. It's not real. You made it up because your brain is built to make patterns. It's how you're built. You're a toaster. Sorry. You're a blender, but oh well. Okay, now this next one, I'm just doing this to punish you guys. Just because I'm fundamentally an evil person. And I'm going to warn you on this next slide, if you look at this for more than about a minute, you will bleed out of your eyes. You are forewarned. For those who don't like to take risks, close your eyes now. How many legs does the elephant have? Your brain will go on a closed circuit. It will loop and loop and loop and loop and loop and loop until it burns out, trying to put 4 legs on an elephant. Why? Because your brain knows that an elephant has 4 legs. And goddammit, the pattern says 4 legs, and I'm going to put 4 legs on that damn elephant no matter what the reality is. Right? Can you turn it off? You look at it, you want to put 4 legs on it, don't you? No, can only look at it. No, I can't look, right? Yeah, that's scary. Got it. We are all pattern-making machines. This familiarity with the world, this idea that we're going to put the 4 legs on the elephant even if it's not there, this is really powerful stuff, and it's very hard to overcome. Now, we've all had this problem before, this issue of predictability. You see, the problem with predictability is it breeds, let me go back. It breeds, familiarity breeds predictability. All right? So let's go to this next slide. We've all had this, where after lunch, right, you had that little bit of lettuce in your teeth, and then you're going down there, and you're thinking about that right now, right? How many of you noticed that the woman has 6 fingers? You see, your brain knows that people have 5 fingers. You're focused on the lettuce in your teeth, and you can't even see what is in front of your eyes as a captive audience, bigger than life. You didn't see it until I told you. And you probably could have looked at that slide for a very long time and never have seen it. Why? Because familiarity breeds predictability. Predictability is not creative. Predictability is not creative. There's no magic in it. But that's where your brain is built. And just as you look for patterns in what you see, so you look for patterns in what you think. Right? It's all driven by the structure of your brain. What you think follows the same irrational patterns as this stuff we just did with what you see. It's called reproductive thinking. We do it in behavior, we do it in education, we do it in business. Think about the nature movies you may have watched, where you watch the mother bear training or teaching the baby bear or something like that, right? They teach them by do as I do, reproduce my behavior. That's how we we learn language. Listen and repeat, listen and repeat, listen and repeat. That's the way our brains are built. We do this reproductive thinking. Well, needless to say, reproductive thinking might give you some innovation because you're basically following the pattern, but it's not going to give you the aha moment of creativity. This is, in fact, how you see the world. Despite the fact you like to think, you know, you're wide open to everything, you know, liberal or whatever it is, this is in fact the world as you see it. It is called by the psychiatrist cognitive dissonance, and I call it adaptive ignorance. Some people are apparently better at adapting to ignorance than others. And again, this is not actually your fault. It has to do with how you're built. You see, in order to concentrate to be effective, the brain is designed to employ a filtering system. And this filtering system is known as the reticular activating system. Think about this. Early evolution, we're out in the plains of Africa, we're walking across the field. There are bird sounds, there's some animal sounds, the wind is blowing in the trees, maybe there's something happening in the sky, whatever, thunderstorm, whatever. But there are only two things that we really need to be focused on. Is there something to eat, or is there something that's going to eat me? And so, the brain, with all of that data, is designed to filter out stuff that didn't relate to that set of questions. Can I eat, or will I be eaten? Now think, if it was working then, think about it today, when it's 24/7, this constant barrage of radio, TV, and social media, and all that kind of crap. By the way, guys, sorry to say this, but on average, you guys check your social media every 7 minutes. As if somehow that plate of potatoes you took a picture of is going to get better. The point is, you're overwhelmed with data. You are, in fact, overwhelmed, and your brain can't handle it. Let me give you an easy example of the RAS at work. Until I mention it right now, you didn't feel your shoes on your feet or your underwear. But now you do. I didn't see anybody jump up to put on a pair of underwear. It was on, your shoes were on, and you didn't feel it. The data was there, but you threw it away because the RAS said, not relevant. Now think about the overwhelming data set that is just swamping you, this tsunami of information that's washing over you every second. Because you're a pattern thinker and because you're looking for the things that are familiar, you are constantly throwing away precious data. The really important stuff is getting thrown away so that you can find the patterns that you already know. Which is why, you know, let's take a look at the Post-it note. Post-it note wasn't an innovation, it wasn't an improvement on the paperclip, it wasn't paperclip version 2.0, it's something altogether different. But now that we look at the Post-it note, we go, of course, it makes sense. Somebody, instead of throwing away data, actually it happened in a company called 3M with a failed glue, instead of saying, oh, that glue doesn't work, someone went, ah, look at that. It's a Post-it note, right? Otherwise, I mean, that data would have otherwise been thrown away. This is the challenge. How do you be creative? Is to hold on to data sets that others are throwing away. You know that Nokia had all of the parts for the smartphone way ahead of Apple. Way ahead of Apple. But they threw away the relevant data because it didn't fit the pattern. Kodak invented the digital camera. Kodak invented the digital camera in 1976. Long before most of you guys were here. Digital photography took off in 2006. They had 30 years to work on the patents, refine the technology. They could have owned the entire digital space. They couldn't do it. Couldn't break the patent. Threw away the data. Another challenge to be creative, and that is that you are linear. Biologically, we are linear. Whether you're your age or my age, a minute has 60 seconds, 60 minutes to an hour, 24 hours a day, 365 days to a year. One season follows another. We are biologically linear. But we don't live in linear times, we live in exponential times. And we're not designed to understand exponentiality. So now, having taken you to the biology classroom, I'm going to drag you over to the math classroom for a moment. Because you need to understand the difference between linear and exponential. If you read the paper this morning, in real form and paper form, you know what we're talking about. A piece of paper is about 0.001 centimeters thick, about the same thickness as a euro. And let's assume that the morning paper was 46 pages, right, stacked, linear. It was about that tall, 0.046 centimeters, right? We know what that is. If I told you it was 100 pages, you'd know, okay, it's that big. If I told you it was 25, you'd know it would be that big. Because we understand linear. But now we have to leap into the world of exponential. I want you to take the same newspaper. I want to take one sheet, the first page of the newspaper, lay it flat, 0.001 centimeters. And instead of stacking, I want you to fold it. Fold that paper on itself. That's 0.002. Fold it again, it's 0.004. Fold it again, it's 0.008. Right? Got the math on that one? Yes? Come on, yes, no, right? Got it? Roll, thanks. You know, in the US, the kids go, I got it! So, all right, so you're folding, right? Remember, 46 sheets of newspaper stacked linear. This morning's newspaper is that thick. One sheet of newspaper folded on itself 46 times. How thick would that be? So you don't know. Your brain can't even comprehend. It doesn't even have the math on that. Thinking about it, right? Well, just I'll give you the answer. A single sheet of newspaper folded on itself 46 times would stretch from the Earth to the moon and back. Having told you that now, how about 44 times fold? Where would that go to? You see, your brain doesn't figure that the same way if I say 25 sheets versus 40 sheets stacked up this way. How about where would it be at 30 folds? You don't work that way. You can figure it out, but you don't work that way. You have to realize that we are now in exponential times. 100 years ago, human knowledge doubled about once every 100 years, folded on itself. At the end of World War II, it was doubling once about every, I think it was about every 2 years. Today, on average, maybe it was every 4 years, today, on average, it doubles about once every year and a half. By 2020, human knowledge will double, fold on itself once every 12 hours. Not stacking, doubling. We're linear, and you think in exponential terms. And therefore, you're challenged to think creatively. It really doesn't fit in any pattern at all. Think of it this uncontrolled velocity. Even Kimi Räikkönen will lose control of a Formula 1 car if he goes too fast. And we're going too fast. Uncontrolled velocity, and this presents a real challenge for us. You see, you still think that you're going to think your way out of this. You think that because you're smart, you can get this. And I'm going to suggest to you that you cannot. You see, this is what's happening with technology, right? And this is the wiring of your brain. Yes, we have this wonderful neocortex in the triune brain. We have this higher thinking power in the neocortex. But the neocortex is about the same as it's been for us for the last 150,000 years, and yet everything around us has done this. Technology is not going to solve your problem. Technology can't do it. Why? Because the problem is the gap. This huge gap between I'm going to think my way out of a problem. You're in version 1.0. Hell, your phone's in version 11, iOS 11, it's 10 years old. And you're 150,000 years in the evolutionary chain, and you're still version 1.0. It doesn't work. The gap is the problem. You will not think your way out of this. The smartest person in the room is not you. It will never be you again. It's your damn phone connected to things like Watson. You will not think your way out. The rational part of your brain, the neocortex, is still running OS version 1.0, and it is inadequate to the task. He's back. You think you're going to be like him. You're going to think your way out of this. I've got bad news. That's us. We're still here, right? Maybe a little bit better shaven, some better grooming products perhaps. That's actually a picture of my brother. He got the hair, but I got the looks. Right? I mean, that is us. Yeah, even he had a neocortex. But the bottom line, the problem is, and we're going circling back to this whole idea of creativity, and is that you keep thinking you can innovate your way out, you can think your way out, you can't. That's not where it happens. So I'm going to give you the answer. You see, you're here, up in that little bit of the iceberg that you can see. IQ, intelligence, neocortex. And that's an important piece when you want to execute upon a creative idea. If Steve Jobs had said, I have a great idea, I'll have a smartphone. And that's all he had. If he didn't have the IQ and the skills behind it to put into production the idea, it would have been meaningless. So the IQ is important, don't get me wrong about that. But that's not where the creation occurs. That's not where the imagination and the magic happens. It happens below the surface, in that part of the brain, which basically generates EQ, emotional intelligence. You all have that. You've all experienced that. You walk into a party, you look across the room and you go, wow, I want to date that girl. I want to go home with that guy. Or you meet somebody and go, that guy is an asshole. You know, or you like him. Whatever it is. You have a response, and that response is, right, version 1.0 of the brain that still works the way it's designed to work. Basically, intuition, VAISTO. That gut reaction doesn't actually come from your gut, it comes from a part of your brain called the limbic system. And you need to awaken your limbic system. The whole educational process has been one designed to put the limbic system to sleep. When the tsunami hit in Indonesia several years ago, hundreds of thousands of humans lost their lives. But very few animals did. Animals that were penned up or chained down did, but the rest of them, long before the ocean retreated, they went to the mountaintops. They headed for the hills. When the ocean went away, all these smart humans, what did they do? They went on the beach to look for shells. Or they looked at their hotel rooms, they went, motherfucker, have you ever seen the ocean go away like that? I wonder what's going to happen. Think it'll come back? And the dumb cows and the deer made it to the mountaintop and looked down and there's some dumb humans down there. They weren't operating on a neocortex. They were operating out of their limbic system. Creativity comes from that limbic system. It comes from this intersection of EQ and IQ. IQ tells you how to do the thing that you thought of, and EQ is the part of you that decides, oh my heavens, there's a post-it note here. And that's what you have to skill up on. Has any of you all, look, you've been in school forever. Has anyone here honestly ever had a course in creative thinking? See, this is the biting the hand that feeds me part. You know, I go out, Alto sends me out, they go, don't do that, don't say that. Or imagination, or magic, or anything. No, right? It's all neocortex driven. Their entire educational process is one to drive out your limbic system. When you look at kids playing in the play yard, they have these great imaginations. Why? Because no one's pounded it out of them yet. They're not trying to follow patterns and rules and all that kind of crap. You give a kid a toy in a box, they throw away the toy, they play with the box. Because the box has more possibility than the toy. Who wants something that wants a plastic magic wand when I can have a stick? Because the stick can be a gun, or a magic wand, or a broomstick to ride, or a bar to chill. It can be anything I want, limited only by my imagination. But if I give it to you in the form of a plastic magic wand that says Harry Potter on it, the game's over. The trick is to do crazy shit. Boy, if my mom only knew. I hate to disappoint you. It's not real. I'm buck naked in this picture. The winner of the international competition in body painting that year was a woman from Finland. Took 6 hours. I'm not wearing any clothes. Everything you see is painted on my body. Right? But your brain wants to believe it's true. You can tell there's a little trick. The giveaway here is where the tattoo goes over the shirt. See? That's the trick. You need to be busy doing crazy stuff. You need to get out of the pattern. You need to stop fitting in. You need to start breaking rules. I'm not talking about robbing banks. Unless you really want to, that's your business. But break the rules. Stop being patterned. Stop letting patterns run your life, because when it runs your life, it runs your thinking. When it runs your thinking, you can't be entrepreneurial. You can't be creative. You can't explore unknown land if you can't take your feet off the land you already know, right? The great explorers didn't do so by staying on dry land saying, "Oh, I know about this. I don't know what the hell is out there. I'm not going out there." That's why you're here, because whatever it is that you're passionate about, you want to forge new things. You want to discover new territory. You want to go places that are the unknown, the territory ahead, terra incognita. And you won't do that by fitting in. Every one of you can do extraordinary things. Every one of you is extraordinary. Every single one of you. And what holds you back are the patterns that the biology has imposed upon you, enforced by the societal rules and practices, reproductive thinking that we do because the patterns think that's the right way. And the guys who do the different things, the Steve Jobs, the Walt Disneys, the Mother Teresa's, whatever it happens to be, are people who believe they're not bound by the rules, that the patterns aren't for them, that they make their own. And that's the point of this lecture. And let me get this thing off my chest. Stop worrying about failure. Right? Fear of failure is the thing that's going to anchor you to the shore more than almost anything else. It might not go as planned. Duh. Of course it's not going to go as planned. No plan ever works. This may help you. I never fail. I never fail. Now, I may not succeed, but I always learn. I never fail. I may not succeed, but I always learn. No one ever punished a kid for learning to ride a bicycle, or making a mistake when they became expert in the piano, or learning how to compete in the biathlon. I never fail. I may not succeed, but I always learn. That's the adventure that you're on. This great adventure of learning and discovery, and that's what makes you an entrepreneur, and that's what's going to help you refine your creative powers, and that is what you people are all about. So go home and start doing crazy stuff every day. Thank you very much. This is the point where they go, why do we invite that guy?
I think there's a couple of questions we would take. Feel free to pick some easy ones for you.
Can we stop global warming? Yeah, that's an easy one. Let's pass on that. I think the one that's really interesting, do I have a say in my own life? If you don't have a say in your own life, who does, right? Who's running your life? It's a very simple choice. You either choose to have your own life, or you choose to let somebody else have your life. Oh, and let me make it, I want to do this easy demonstration. This is how simple this is, right? It's really easy. What is your favorite color? Rose? Is your pink? Pink is your favorite, okay, pink. And what's your favorite food? No, pink is the wrong one. She got pink, you're asking the food question. What's your favorite food? Spaghetti. Terrific. You chose pink. I'm gonna pick the tone of pink. And you're only getting to wear that one color pink in everything you wear for the rest of your life, every day, nothing else but that one color. And spaghetti, your very favorite food, lucky you. You get to eat that same spaghetti every day, 3 times a day for the rest of your life and nothing else. Will you let me make that decision for you? No. Got it. If you won't let me pick the color of your clothes or your lunch, why would you let me pick your life? Why would you let anybody pick your life? It's yours, right? You ever heard the expression, it's the gift of life, right? You have the gift, it's yours. So the answer is, do you have say over your own life? You absolutely do. And the next time you think you don't, just think rose or spaghetti. That'll answer that question, okay. What is my best memory of living in Finland? Is when I'm in my home in Mexico in the wintertime. Was that, no, that's not the answer. What's the most important quality of an entrepreneur? It's the fact that you believe that whatever you can think of, that whatever you can create, might be possible, and that you can do it. Look at my personal hero. He's a guy who was born as a lawyer, a bureaucrat. He had no standing, no money. He had no status in a culture that was very status driven. And one day he woke up and he went, "Holy cow! The future of my country is in my hands." Mahatma Gandhi in India. This is a guy who was a bureaucrat from the wrong caste, wrong part of, wrong side of the tracks, if you will. He wakes up one day and says, the future of 1 billion human beings and taking down the British Empire is up to me. And all he did was wake to the fact that it was his life and he could make it as extraordinary as he chose it to be. And he changed the course of history. He creates free India. He brings together Muslims and Hindus. He brings the British Empire to its knees without so much as raising a fist. Man, he's walking around in an adult diaper all of his life. Right? And what made him special? The same thing that makes you special. The difference is, he woke up one day and said, "Oh, I get it. I get it. Do I like salmiakki? Nobody likes salmiakki." No, actually I like salmiakki. To a point. Do I guess the story will end? Well, sure it will. That's not a hard one.
What about in business life, what could Finns learn from Americans and what could Americans learn from Finns?
Okay, so I think that's actually pretty good. All right, so business life, and I think it's life in general. Here's what Americans can learn from Finns. Finns have a wonderful set of values. Your moral compass is set and very much in the right direction. I meet with young entrepreneurs all the time in Finland, and I do every single day. It's always, I want to save the world, I want to do something purposeful. I almost never meet with someone who says, "I want to be a billionaire." And a lot of the American entrepreneurs say, "It's about the money." That's completely wrong-headed. Finns have a wonderful relationship with nature, and I think that keeps you grounded in what's important and valuable and real. Again, very few countries have that remaining anymore. But what Finns can learn from Americans is, we just don't give a damn, right? I'm not embarrassed to fail. I'm not embarrassed at all. You would have to really think pretty hard to get somebody who's embarrassed. I don't care. I'm here for a very few years. Life is fast, then it's over. I spend the rest of eternity buried in a pile of dirt someplace. What am I be embarrassed about? What is it I'm going to do that's so terrible that's going to outlast me? Forget to zip my fly? Something. No, just kidding, right? Don't worry about that. So, and America, so we're not afraid to fail. That doesn't worry us. In fact, the bigger this explosion on this journey of learning, the more fun it is. And so I think this can-do attitude, the fact that we simply are willing to take anything on and just attempt it and then get out of it what we get out of it, is something that if Finland embraced, it'd be unbelievable. You know, you guys would have more success than you know what to do with. A well-educated population with great social and moral values, with a good relationship, wonderful relationship with nature, and then a can-do attitude. Holy cow. This would be a dangerous country. In what kind of business am I involved? Whatever interests me. I have my brain works in two states. I'm either not interested or I'm totally obsessed. It's one of the other. There's no in between for me. I think that's probably enough.
Yeah, I think we can ask one final question. From Bruce Oreck, what is your advice for us, the young students, the probably entrepreneurships somewhere in the near future, I guess, I hope. So what would you say? One word, one sentence.
Stop waiting. Right? It happens today. It happens right now. Don't, you know, this is not tomorrow project. This is a today project, and every day hereafter. So stop waiting. Nobody else is going to do this for you, and you don't need permission.
Bruce Oreck, hyvät naiset ja herrat, annetaan